Good evening. I am Clara Nightwell, and tonight I am here with Rowan Hartsteele. Some leaders are remembered for their speeches, others for their victories,
and some for enduring failure long enough to matter.
Tonight, we are speaking about a man who rose slowly, fell repeatedly, and was underestimated almost until the end.
A man whose reputation shifted between obscurity, command, scandal, and memory.
He was not admired for brilliance, nor feared for charisma.
He was trusted because he did not stop.
His name was Ulysses S. Grant.
General President, and a figure defined as much by defeat as by resolve.
Rowan, let us begin before the war made him visible.
Ulysses S. Grant was born in 1822 in Point Pleasant, Ohio.
So he was born into a military family.
Not exactly. His father was a tanner and businessman. Grant's military path was not inherited, but imposed later through education.
Then West Point shaped him early.
Yes, he entered the United States Military Academy reluctantly. He was not ambitious, not charismatic, and not especially interested in command.
Was he considered talented there?
Competent, not exceptional. He excelled in horsemanship, but showed little distinction otherwise.
So nothing suggested future leadership.
Correct. After graduation, he served in the Mexican-American War. There, he observed combat closely, learning how fear and momentum actually function.
Did that war define him?
It informed him, but it did not elevate him. Afterward, his career stalled. Assignments were distant. Isolation grew.
This is where the stories about alcohol appear.
Yes, Grant struggled with drinking, particularly during lonely postings. The army did not tolerate it. He resigned under pressure.
So his military career ended there.
At that moment, yes. What followed were years of civilian failure. Farming failed. Business ventures collapsed. He worked as a clerk in his father's store.
That sounds like disappearance.
It was. By the late 1850s, Grant was obscure, financially insecure, and professionally stalled.
So when the Civil War began, he returned as a hero already formed.
No. He returned as a volunteer, almost unnoticed. What mattered was not who he was, but that he did not hesitate.
Failure had trained him to persist.
Exactly. Grant entered the war without illusions, without pride, and without expectation of rescue.
And that became his advantage.
When the Civil War began in 1861, Grant entered service quietly, commanding volunteer troops in the Western Theater.
So he was placed immediately in a central role.
No, the Western Front was considered secondary. The focus was on Virginia and the Eastern armies.
That gave him room to operate.
Exactly. In early 1862, Grant captured Fort Henry and Fort Donelson in Tennessee.
These were minor victories.
They were strategically decisive. They opened the rivers, split Confederate defenses, and forced a major surrender.
This is where the phrase unconditional surrender appears.
Yes, Grant demanded unconditional surrender at Fort Donelson. It made him visible overnight.
Visibility can be dangerous.
It was. Critics accused him of recklessness and questioned his discipline.
And then came Shiloh.
Yes. The Battle of Shiloh in April 1862 shocked the nation.
Because of the casualties.
Because of the scale and the surprise. Union forces were attacked suddenly. The first day was chaotic and bloody.
So this was considered a failure.
Initially, yes. Grant was blamed for being unprepared.
But he recovered the next day.
He counterattacked and held the field. What mattered to Grant was not avoiding losses, but continuing the fight.
That sounds like indifference to cost.
Not indifference. Acceptance. Grant understood that the war would be decided by endurance, not elegance.
This is where his reputation hardens.
Yes, he was labeled a butcher by critics, even as his results accumulated.
Was that label accurate?
Not entirely. Grant coordinated movements, exploited logistics, and pressed advantages instead of retreating.
He stayed.
Exactly. Where others paused or withdrew, Grant continued. Pressure was his strategy.
So Shiloh did not end him.
It defined him. From that point forward, Grant was understood as a commander who absorbed shocks and kept moving.
A dangerous kind of reliability.
Yes, and one the Union would come to depend on. After Shiloh, Grant turned his attention to Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Why was Vicksburg so important?
It controlled the Mississippi River. As long as Vicksburg held, the Confederacy remained connected east to west.
So capturing it would isolate the South.
Exactly. It would split the Confederacy in two.
Grant tried a direct assault first.
No, he tried multiple approaches, canal projects, feints, maneuvers. Most failed.
So, persistence. Again.
Yes, he accepted failure as part of movement, not as a reason to stop.
At some point he cuts his supply lines.
Correct. In 1863, Grant marched his army inland without secure supply lines, living off the land.
That sounds reckless.
It was calculated. It freed him from predictable routes and allowed speed and surprise.
So this was improvisation.
It was adaptability. Grant adjusted continuously rather than committing to a single elegant plan.
The city is eventually surrounded.
Yes. After a series of battles, Grant laid siege to Vicksburg.
A long wait.
47 days. Starvation and exhaustion followed inside the city.
This was purely military pressure.
Yes, no negotiation theatrics. Just containment.
When Vicksburg fell, the war was essentially over.
Not over, but fundamentally altered. The Confederacy was split. Momentum shifted decisively.
So this is Grant's defining victory.
Yes, it demonstrated his understanding of war as a system. Logistics, morale, time and pressure.
Not heroic charges.
No, sustained advantage. Relentless movement.
And after Vicksburg, he cannot be ignored.
Exactly. From that point, Grant becomes indispensable. After Vicksburg, Grant was promoted to command all Union armies.
So he finally replaced the cautious generals in the East.
Yes. In 1864, Grant moved east to confront Robert E. Lee directly.
Lee had never faced pressure like this before.
He had faced battles. What he had not faced was uninterrupted pressure across multiple fronts.
This is where the war becomes purely attritional.
Grant coordinated simultaneous advances. Even when battles were costly, he did not disengage.
That earned him the label of butcher again.
Yes, but Grant understood the asymmetry. The Union could replace losses. The Confederacy could not.
So casualties became a strategic variable.
They always were. Grant simply acknowledged it openly.
The wilderness and Spotsylvania were part of this phase.
Yes, brutal battles, limited visibility, enormous losses. After each, Grant moved south instead of retreating.
Which surprised both armies.
And the public. For the first time, the Union did not step back after bloodshed.
This was not about defeating Lee in a single battle.
No, it was about removing his ability to continue.
That kind of thinking is emotionally difficult.
Grant was not detached. He was restrained. He accepted responsibility without dramatizing it.
So leadership here meant endurance.
Endurance and coordination. Pressure applied continuously, without collapse.
By this point, Lee was being enclosed.
Yes, the Confederacy was being compressed. Time was no longer on Lee's side.
So Grant's strategy was working.
At immense cost, and without illusion about that cost. By mid-1864, Grant shifted the war toward Petersburg, a critical rail and supply hub for Richmond, D.
So capturing Petersburg would immediately end the war.
Not immediately. It would end the Confederacy's ability to sustain itself.
This is where the siege begins.
Yes. The siege of Petersburg lasted nearly 10 months. Trenches stretched for miles. Movement slowed. Pressure did not.
It resembles modern warfare.
Very much so. Continuous lines, attrition, logistics dominating tactics.
Grant simply waited.
He adjusted. Extended lines, cut railroads, forced Lee to stretch thinner over time.
The goal was exhaustion.
Yes, not collapse in battle, but collapse of capacity.
This strategy leaves little room for dramatic victories.
Grant accepted that. He measured success in what the enemy could no longer do.
Eventually, Lee attempts to break out.
Yes. In early 1865, Lee abandoned Petersburg and Richmond, seeking escape west.
Grant pursued aggressively.
Relentlessly, but with control. Cutting off routes, intercepting supplies, limiting options.
This leads to Appomattox.
Yes. On April 9th, 1865, Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse.
Grant demanded unconditional surrender again.
No. He offered generous terms. Officers kept their sidearms. Soldiers returned home.
That restraint mattered.
It prevented continued resistance and eased the transition toward peace.
So the war ended not with spectacle, but containment.
Yes. The conflict closed because the system could no longer function. After the war, Grant became a national symbol of unity and victory.
Which made his election inevitable.
Almost in 1868, he was elected president, largely because the nation trusted him.
He governed with the same discipline he showed in war.
He governed with integrity, but not with political skill. These are not the same.
So, the corruption was his doing.
No, the corruption occurred around him, not through him. Grant trusted the wrong people.
That trust became a weakness.
Yes, scandals emerged during his administration. Financial schemes, misuse of office, personal enrichment by associates.
But his personal integrity remained intact.
Largely. No evidence ever tied Grant himself to corruption.
That must have been isolating.
It was. Grant struggled to navigate civilian power. The skills that made him effective in war did not translate cleanly to politics.
After leaving office, his life stabilized.
No. He faced financial ruin after a fraudulent investment scheme collapsed.
So, failure returned.
Yes, and illness. Grant was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
This is when he writes his memoirs.
Correct. Under immense pressure, Grant wrote to secure his family's future.
They were rushed.
They were precise, calm, unsentimental. They are considered among the finest military memoirs ever written.
So his final act was articulation.
Yes, he explained his choices without justification or bitterness.
How should he be remembered?
As a man whose strength was persistence, whose weakness was trust, and whose legacy resists simplification.
Not heroic, but durable.
Exactly. I don't know Ulysses.
Before we reach the end of tonight's program, let's take a brief pause and welcome Margaret. Margaret. For those who want to understand Grant in his own words, where would you invite them to continue?
Thank you, Clara. This is one of those rare cases where the primary source is also the most revealing one. I would recommend the complete personal memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant.
So, this is not a retrospective written by others.
No. It is Grant himself writing near the end of his life, under financial pressure and serious illness.
Does that change the tone?
Very much. The writing is restrained, precise, and almost entirely free of self-justification.
So it reflects the man we have been describing tonight.
Exactly. There is no theatrical language. No triumphalism. Just decisions, consequences, and responsibility.
What kind of reader is this book for?
For readers interested in leadership under pressure, and in how a life can be explained without myth.
It sounds less like a monument, and more like a record.
That is a beautiful way to put it. It is a record written by someone who understood the cost of action.
Thank you, Margaret, for sharing this moment with us tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, as always.
Ulysses Grant is often remembered through extremes, as a hero of victory or as a president surrounded by failure.
And neither of those frames seems sufficient.
Grant's life suggests something quieter, that endurance can matter more than brilliance.
That persistence can look unremarkable while it is happening.
He did not reshape the world with ideas. He absorbed pressure until structures broke.
And he paid for that kind of leadership.
Yes, in reputation, in misunderstanding, and in isolation once the work was done.
His final years feel almost consistent with the rest of his life.
Failure returned. Illness followed, and instead of retreating, he wrote.
As a way of taking responsibility one last time.
Exactly. Grant did not seek admiration. He sought to explain.
Thank you for staying with us tonight. And thank you, Rowan, for guiding us through a life shaped by persistence rather than display.
Thank you, Clara. Some lives matter not because they inspire, but because they endure.
If this conversation stayed with you, you are welcome to like, comment, and subscribe. You will find other episodes here where history, power, and memory are approached slowly. Until next time, stay with us.